A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is now in effect after more than 2 years of war. The ending in fighting after the Israeli military in Gaza pulled back behind the line agreed upon under the deal is taking place hours after the Israeli government ratified the initial agreement. And this paves the way for the release of the remaining Israeli hostages. It also means a 72-hour countdown has begun for Hamas to hand over the Israeli hostages. And during this process, we also expect to see the release of just under 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. The Red Cross says its team in Israel, Gaza, and the West Bank are ready to assist with the expected release. And under the deal, around 600 humanitarian aid trucks will enter Gaza daily from now moving forward. The executive director of Doctors Without Borders was on Power and Politics yesterday, and she says the support needed is incomprehensible.
It's been 2 years of a gut-wrenching genocide, 2 years of a lot of lives lost, a lot of harm that's been done, a lot of infrastructure that needs rebuilding. And so there is a lot that still needs to be done here. The real task ahead of us is how do you do right by the Palestinian people who've lived through this?
Empty trucks belonging to the World Food Program are on their way to the Kerem Shalom crossing to pick up aid. And the United Nations says it will ramp up its deliveries now that the ceasefire is in place. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada will step up its aid as well. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says Canada has already put some $340 million on the table. That is the third highest Gaza aid commitment of any country. Well, Israelis and Palestinians alike are rejoicing after the deal was announced. There's anticipation, there's joy, and both are being felt right across Israel today. These are drone images of worshipers participating in the morning prayer in Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, grateful for the long-anticipated release of the remaining hostages being held by Hamas. CBC's Crystal Gamansing leads off our coverage out of Jerusalem this morning. Crystal, now that the clock ticks down towards the hostages being released as well as the prisoners, what can you tell us about the timelines?
Well, Natasha, let's start first of all with what we are hearing in terms of that ceasefire and the military operation. Israel Defense Forces confirming this morning that the ceasefire did take place. It came into effect around noon local time. Now, that's important because earlier in the morning there were visual explosions that could be seen. Our video freelance journalist that works in Gaza said that there were a number of strikes that he had reported to us. Now, that ceasefire taking effect at noon, they are saying that they are moving troops back to that agreed upon line. Important to know that Israel Defense Forces will still be remaining in Gaza as a part of phase one of the peace plan. They will control still, once they move back to that point, about 53% of Gaza. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did do an address just a short time ago. He reiterated some of these points, specifically thanking the United States, thanking U.S. President Donald Trump for the help in securing this agreement. Yesterday, he made a point of thanking Steve Witkoff as well as Jared Kushner, who were joining him as he made the announcement that Israel had ratified the peace agreement. But today, in his address in Hebrew, he talked about the fact that troops will remain in Gaza. He said to exert pressure on Hamas until it disarms. He suggested that Gaza will be demilitarized and that if the demands are not met, the easy way, then it could potentially return to those military operations. So we are hearing from him today while he is happy, saying that the hostages will be coming home shortly. He is reiterating the fact that Israel still has demands here and that it is prepared to return to military operations if those demands, such as disarming and demilitarizing Gaza, doesn't eventually happen. Now, that wasn't a part of phase one, which is the agreed upon part, but it is something to note as everyone is waiting to see, will phase two of negotiations begin? And of course, we haven't even really gotten into the main part of phase one, which is the return of the hostages, Natasha.
אבל עדיין נשאר האתגר הקשה מכל, להשיב הביתה את כל יתר החטופים, 20 חטופים חיים ו-28 חטופים חללים. אזרחי ישראל, לפני שנתיים חג שמחת תורה הפך ליום של יגון לאומי. שמחת תורה הזה יהפוך בעזרת השם ליום של שמחה לאומית, שמחה על שובם של כל אחינו ואחיותינו החטופים.
So there, the Prime Minister talking about the return of the hostages. That should happen within the next 72 hours, roughly. So, Natasha, that would put their return at about Monday.
You know, Crystal, over the course of the day, we've been showing these unbelievably powerful images of thousands of Palestinians trekking northwards now that the Israeli troops are pulling out. We're showing that image again on the screen. I mean, between the sea on one side, the devastation on the other, and this almost biblical imagery of people making a return to their home. It's so incredibly powerful. Talk to us about the latest on that front.
Well, we have to remember this has been 2 years of an intense military operation. Israel has stated it was to, root out Hamas and ensure its safety going forward. But in that process, we have seen, roughly 90% of the population of Gaza displaced. All of those people have been moving around multiple times seeking safety. Much of Gaza has been destroyed in these military operations. So we see tens of thousands of people now moving from locations in the south, such as Nusrat, going along that coastal road, making their way back to cities such as Gaza City and further north. There is not a lot for them to return to, but they want to go back to where their houses used to be, and ensuring that people will have some supplies, have some food, be able to create new shelters. We are having commitments from a number of humanitarian groups. The head of the UN's Emergency Relief Coordination Unit has said that they will ramp up the supplies and deliveries as soon as they possibly can, and allowing access was written into the text of the agreement. Take a listen to what Tom Fletcher had to say about the process of getting aid into Gaza.
We will aim to increase the pipeline of supplies to hundreds of trucks every day. Food, we will scale up the provision of food across Gaza to reach 2.1 million people who need food aid and around 500,000 people who need nutrition.
So keep in mind, we're not only talking about food, we're talking about medical supplies, we're talking about rebuilding homes, rebuilding hospitals, getting kids back into education. These are all long-term issues that will need to be dealt with in the immediate time frame. As the ceasefire holds, after those hostages are returned, we'll see the ramp up of aid flowing into Gaza. They are hoping on a daily basis to have hundreds of trucks. Natasha?